Good afternoon, it's Debbie Evans here, and here is Rolo. He's not actively going to participate in this live video, but we thought we would share with you the beginning of a chapter from his latest book, and this is The Secret Adventures of Rolo, Book 5, Phoenix and the Dragonling. So what Rolo would like to share with you today is from Chapter 3, Rolo, Knave and a Stuck Sword. I lay down on the forest floor at the foot of Athelstan's tree, and Yulia climbed on a tree root and reached her arms around my neck to fasten the jewel collar. This had been a gift from Father Christmas when I sorted out a staffing problem with his reindeer, previously explained in a festive short story. The jewel collar enables me to experience myths and legends. I can explore stories, whether they are fiction or not, and can sometimes use it in real time if I have to get somewhere quickly, with conditions attached. When I wear it, I literally turn into a dragon. Well, a Jack Russell dog version of a dragon. As soon as Yulia's tiny fingers fastened the collar, I started to feel the familiar sensation of becoming a little dragony as my short fur hardened to scales and powerful wings sprouted from my sturdy shoulders. My black-tipped tail grew a pointy bit on the end, and I turned to look back at it with approval. "Take care and bring him back." Athelstan's voice faded into the distance as I got into takeoff position, crouched low on my haunches. I opened my mouth to reply when I heard, "We will." The soft tinkling of Yulia's voice as she sat down hard on my back and wrapped her arms around my neck. "Well, you didn't think you were going off without me, did you, Paddy Paws?" she laughed. "Off you go then, straight along the M4 towards Windsor." I set my course east, following the straight grey tarmac road beneath, interspersed with twinkly red and white lights from London-bound nighttime traffic. By car the journey takes about an hour, but as a dragon soaring through the night sky, beating my wings furiously trying to get a steady rhythm, we seem to get there in no time at all. No variable speed restrictions or any annoying stretch of traffic cones closing off motorway lanes up here. "Look, there's the castle," I shouted to Yulia, catching sight of the famous round tower coming into view, and I felt the woodland girl stiffen and sit upright as she must have been drowsing on my back. We were now scouting the great park from the air and started our descent. "According to Athelstan, the tree should be round about here." "Look, there it is." Yulia was suddenly wide awake and urging me down to land in a clearing close to what I can only describe as a whole heap of tree. My landing was quite smooth, and Yulia jumped down. I folded my wings round my body for warmth. I needed to stay in dragon mode for a bit until we'd worked out if I needed to time travel or not, depending on Knave's whereabouts. I approached the sprawling tree. It was magnificent, even in the soft moonlight. The girth of the oak was enormous, but at some point in its life it had cleaved in half and now resembled a pair of hands, touching at the wrists, with fingers reaching skywards, cupped in a bowl shape. Yulia gave a low whistle through her teeth. This is possibly one of the oldest surviving trees in the country, springing from an acorn in the 8th century. "Imagine the comings and goings of kings and queens that this tree has witnessed," she said in awe. We stood side by side for a moment, contemplating the span of history this ancient tree had witnessed, with our heads bowed in reverence. The heavy, almost severed limbs were propped up with heavy stakes to stop them from snapping off completely. This marvellous oak had lain dormant for years, and conservationists feared the worst, but the signs of new leaf and recent growth were just perceptible in the darkness, illuminated by the glow of my collar. I moved closer to the ancient oak and sniffed. No scent of decay or wood rot. Wait though, I definitely detected an air of corgi. Knave had been here and left a P-mail. Yulia said something I didn't quite catch as she stepped inside the cavernous trunk, and then she was gone. "Yulia, where are you?" I shouted, following her into the hollowed-out base of the tree, but the woodland girl was nowhere to be seen. The floor of the trunk was full of browning leaves and bright green moss. No hole that I could detect. Puzzled, I stepped outside the tree again. "Hey, Paddy Paws, are you looking for something?" "How did you disappear like that?" I spun round to face Yulia, who was laughing with delight in the midst of the tree trunk. I thought there might be a code of some sort to unlock the time tunnel, and I worked it out. Quercus is oak in Latin, and apertus is open. "Simple," she said. "Really?" I was impressed. There was more to Yulia than a tinkling laugh and a tiny lantern. "No, silly. Athelstan told me." Yulia dissolved into giggles. Never mind her larking about. I was anxious to know where the passageway led. "What happened? Did you go anywhere? Any sign of Knave?" "No trace of a wandering corgi, but I did find this." Yulia held out her hand and revealed a crimson-coloured crystal about the size of a sugar lump. "That looks like a ruby," I exclaimed. "What are you waiting for? Come on, Paddy Paws." And with that, Yulia skipped back inside the hollow of the tree trunk. I followed her. "Wait for me." She grabbed hold of my dragon pointy tail. "Quercus apertus," she shouted. And, oh, Rolo's come back. And all went dark, and my ears were filled with a sort of whooshing sound. A few seconds later, we stepped out of the tree trunk, and it was broad daylight, but my instinct told me we were in a different time frame. Yulia picked herself up from the ground and started brushing leaves from her dress. I sniffed the area a few inches off the ground around the tree and could definitely pick up the scent of corgi. I was sure Knave had been here, but where was he now? And more to the point, where exactly had we travelled to? I was still in dragon mode, and I invited Yulia to climb on my back so we could better explore our place of arrival from the air. She vaulted expertly from a tree root, gained her seat, and I took off at once, and quickly rose so we could have a better look around. "Do you think Knave dropped that precious stone? Maybe that's how he managed to transport himself through this tree." Yulia was about to answer, but we were distracted by the sight of a small green hill surrounded by trees, dotted with a few large boulders and a single tower perched on top. I swooped down for a closer look. I spied an old man at the foot of the hill, with flowing beard, battered pointy hat and long robes patterned with strange symbols. Yulia saw him too, and she suggested we approach with caution. There was something familiar about the old man. He seemed vaguely familiar. I couldn't quite put my paw on where I'd seen him before, and it was puzzling me. "There, look, Paddy Paws, it's Knave." Yulia leaned forward and whispered in my ear, and sure enough, she had spotted the runaway corgi carrying something in his mouth and being set upon by the robed man who was waving his crooked staff at the dog in a most threatening manner. "How are we going to play this? What danger could we be in?" I asked Yulia, wondering what Knave had done to provoke anger in this man. And we're going to leave it there, and Rolo and I will resume this story tomorrow. So thank you very much for listening. Bye for now.